What it do to the YouTubes? This is the Atheist Chef, and I am starting my part 6 through probably 11. I don't know. It depends on how much I feel like doing today. You'll figure it out at the end of the video. Of G-Man's, or rebuttal to G-Man's, theist, why you should never become an atheist. So, let us begin. So, G-Man says, if you become an atheist, you will think that you're more moral than God. Yep. Then, G-Man, you say that you will see the flaws in the Bible and things that you think are evil. Well, yeah. Show me that they aren't evil. I mean, in one of our discussions, you brought up Africa, or these kids, or these hundreds of kids that are starving, or hundreds, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of kids starving on a regular basis. And then you say that it's humanity's fault. That humans aren't, aren't giving enough money and we're not taking care of them, so God is punishing us. The funny thing about that is that, well, you're not saying that the act isn't evil, you're just trying to provide a justification for it. And then you go on to say that you will look at the evils in the Bible and you will think that, by comparison, that you are God's gift to earth, quote unquote, while God is an evil tyrant that forces you to love him. Well, yeah. I mean, for example, if, I wish, I could be God for a little while, and I'm sure every other atheist out there would be like, yeah, I could fix all of our problems like that. Period. But you can say, oh, well, you don't want to violate free will. Well, God has no problem with violating free will. Now, we can bring up the Pharaoh thing, and you can provide a justification for it, G-Man, but it still means he's doing it. He's still violating people's free will. Or, you can also say, well, you know what? It's better him to violate free will than allow, let's say, and I'm going to take this example from Dark Matter, that a woman is getting raped and her free will to not get raped is getting violated by a rapist. Probably better for God to, disrupt that guy's free will and then let that woman suffer. I believe a lot more good can be done there. And still, I'm better than your God. And G-Man, you're better than your God. If given the same opportunities and same powers, I believe you would too. I think you would be a better God. So in part 7, you go into the idea that if a theist becomes an atheist, then Satan has beaten you. Well, as I've shown with my The Devil is Not in the Details video, Satan / Lucifer / the devil, as Christians refer to him, especially when you found the ones in Ezekiel and Isaiah, are not referring to the devil. They are referring to someone else. They're referring to the king of Babylon and King Nebuchadnezzar, and then I can't remember the other one. But they're not referring to the devil. That was in a later edition from Christians. The devil is nothing more than an evolved form of this, this severe, fierce dichotomy between good and evil that the Jews took from the Zoroastrians. And then kind of combined it with that whole Satan, the adversary, or the accuser, from the Old Testament. And I think I'll probably go into better detail in the later one, but I've already covered that pretty well. So I'm moving on to the next part. Then, of course, in part 8, we have you saying, well, you can't prove a negative, because once you get past all of the scientific mumbo-jumbo, it's just because the atheists can't. They can't use logic, they can't use philosophy or reason, they can't make it up inside their own head. G-Man, just because you want to shift the burden of proof, it doesn't mean you can. In any argument, it doesn't matter if it has to do with atheism and Christianity, or the existence of something, or trying to prove that 2 + 2 = 4, or that, anything, just any logical argument. If you are making the claim, then you are the one with the burden of proof. We've said this over and over, and I feel like I even said this in another video, like 3 different videos of me saying this. It's your burden, not us. unless somebody claims that, God does not exist, which is not the atheistic position. I'm not going to go into much further detail. I think that's enough. Part 10, let's go. Part 9, G-Man says, God will still exist though you lack the belief. Just because you lack doesn't mean that things will change. But now I'm just going to turn that around and say, God won't exist even though you believe in him. Just because you believe, that doesn't mean anything will change. See how easy that was? I didn't even break a sweat. And then G-Man begins to talk about the mark of the beast. And it's just so funny because I don't think he knows the real thing about the mark of the beast, that the whole 666 thing was actually in reference to Emperor Nero. It was a number system created so that people could criticize those up on higher power without fear of death. And his numbers actually just ended up translating to be 666. The whole idea about the whole one world currency, if I can also add that, actually came from the idea that because the Romans at the time were actually trying to spread their empire around. They had already captured, the Jewish areas, and a lot of places they were pretty far spread out. And they were trying to actually create a, ultimate empire. They actually allowed the people to, have their beliefs as long as they pay their taxes and do their things and whatnot. And they try their best to make a peaceful society, but with Roman control. So these people, these Jewish people, were prophesying, that saying, like, what that was. It was about the Romans. It was not about a modern day beast. It's times like this, Christians, when you tell us that we need to read things into context, and then you go off and read books like Daniel and Isaiah, and then turn it into a prophecy. Context. What happened to context? I don't know. So, part 11. G-Man says that if you become an atheist, you will become illiterate. Now, I'm assuming he actually means biblically illiterate, not like that you're all of a sudden going to become stupid and don't know how to read. So let's just go with that he means biblically. Now, I have to completely disagree. One, because when I was, either in the deconversion process, and even now as an atheist, I understand more about the Bible than I did as a Christian. I was actually, I learned about the historicity of what was actually going on at the time, the context of the situation, who was writing it, why were they writing it, who was it written to, all the Pauline gospel writings, especially. I learned so many new things, and it definitely put on a new perspective. I stepped away from the more literal and fundamental interpretations. Even though when I was a liberal Christian, there were certain things that I still interpreted literally. But I was able to step away from that, and I learned so much more. So no, and I think that, most Christians or atheists that were, converted to Christians that converted to atheists, they probably feel about the same way, unless they just gave up on the Bible altogether and just started doing their own thing. But now, but let's compare this to the Gallup polls that they've shown that around only 10% of Christians have actually read the entire Bible. And I will link that down below to the actual credible studies. But this is actually not the first time. It's actually, this happens pretty often. Studies like this, and this one showed 10%. And then they also did a test between all the branches of religion, atheism, or not that the atheism was a religion, but Christianity and the different subsets of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and all these kind of different things. And atheism ranked higher than every religion, period. Out of 32 questions, they got 20.9 correct out of 32. Now I can't remember the sample size to save my life, but it was quite a good number. And while the Christians averaged around 15.7, coming in fourth underneath Jewish and the Mormon faith, respectively. That claim that we become biblically literate, not only do we become more understanding of the Bible. We actually learn more about all the religions in general. So, no. Speaking of illiteracy, let's talk about the Gallup poll that was shown that there is a relationship between religiosity and literacy. Now, they started off with the most religious states, Mississippi to Tennessee, Louisiana, and things of that nature. And they showed an 85 to 75% religiosity at the very top, the top three, or top four. And so they had 85 to 75% religiosity and 16 to 13% illiteracy. Now, while we had states like Vermont and Maine and Massachusetts had a 45 to 55% religiosity, which is about 40 less, 30 to 40 less, and 7 to 10% illiteracy. So from the minimum of 5 points different to 8 points difference in literacy. Now, of course, there is a margin of error and other things to consider. It's not just religiosity. It's so it's not necessarily a causation, but more of a correlation. But it in no way shows that Christians are more literate than atheists. In fact, and again, you can look at the study yourself, it tends to show the streak of the exact opposite. So G-Man then says, this shiny turd, that when you become an atheist, your IQ will drop 90%. Yeah, that's what he said. I really hope he was being facetious. Actually, no. I really do hope that he meant it, because that would make this next part much sweeter. There was a Gallup poll that showed that there was a correlation between religiosity and IQ. They did this poll across over 137 nations. And atheism, the nations that were more atheist, they had higher IQs. Now, I will post this down below as well. And once again, it's a correlation, not necessarily a causation. But it's so funny to see it go in the exact opposite direction of where G-Man thought it would be. Alright folks, that was parts 6 through 11, and I believe he's up to 25 parts now. I swear I keep making more videos, and he just keeps making more, so it's throwing off my numbers game that I was going to have it here. So, I'll get back into those, very shortly, and I'll continue on with like 12 through 16 or 12 through 17 or whatever. But thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I'm glad people are starting to watch these now. It's nice to see like videos in the triple digits, and it's blowing my mind because I never thought I would even get there. I don't expect to get that much more views, at least for a while. But I'm so grateful for you guys that have been sticking around with me for 45, 46, 47 videos now. In under, I don't even know how long I've been doing this, just barely a few months. And so I know that you've been hearing my voice and seeing this face way too much, but I want to thank you so much for continuing to watch watching these videos, and through all my screw-ups and mess-ups and my rambling that I'm doing even as now. So I'm going to stop talking now. So thanks a lot. Peace out. Later. Should never become an atheist. So, let us begin. So, G-Man says, if you become an atheist, you will think that you're more moral than God. Yep. Then, G-Man, you say that you will see the flaws in the Bible and things that you think are evil. By comparison, that you are God's gift to earth, quote unquote, while God is an evil tyrant that forces you to love him. Well, yeah. I mean, for example, if, I wish, I could be God for a little while, and I'm sure every other atheist out there would be like, yeah, I could fix all of our... Well, yeah. Show me that they aren't evil. I mean, in one of our discussions, you brought up Africa, or these kids, or these hundreds of kids that are starving, or hundreds, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of kids starving on a regular basis. And then you say that it's humanity's fault, that humans aren't giving enough money and we're not taking care of them, so God is punishing us. The funny thing about that is that, well, you're not saying that the act isn't evil, you're just trying to provide a justification for it. And then you go on to say that you will look at the evils in the Bible and you will think that, what it do to the YouTubes? This is the Atheist Chef, and I am starting my part 6 through probably 11. I don't know, it depends on how much I feel like doing today. You'll figure it out at the end of the video. Of G-Man's, or rebuttal to G-Man's, theist, why you